So that was a blow. It was a tremendous blow to everybody, and it was a tremendous blow at the time to the vision and the future of the organization.
You have to remember, at that time, there had never been a hint of any kind of scandal in world class at all, or even tragedy. It was all positive, young guys doing great things.
That really, it took a few weeks for us to realize that took the heart out of the show. He had so much personality. He had so much charisma. He was the key factor in the three Von Erichs.
This is Kevin Wall here to remind you that the greatest wrestling spectacular ever in the state of Texas is coming. Not to Reunion Arena, but to Texas Stadium. That's right, May 6th, you will see reigning world champion Ric Flair as he defends his belt against Kerry Von Erich. But the NWA has stipulated that the disqualification rule must be waived for this match.
Now, I'll tell you what's happened. The Von Erichs have gotten the Bob Geigel, and they've got the NWA, and they waved a lot of money around, and they got the disqualification rule waived, and they're bringing me, the greatest athlete alive today, into Dallas May 6th, thinking that Kerry Von Erich is going to be the new world heavyweight champion. Well, let me tell you people something. 50,000 people is a lot of people to wrestle in front of, and I know that they're going to be geared up to see a real man. Nothing like the Dallas Cowboys, but a real man's coming to town, the world champion.
They wanted that world championship more than anything in the world. And that world championship is going to be around the Von Erich waist. It has to be. Not only for our family, for Dave.
Kerry Von Erich. As you see the world belt in front of you, Kerry Von Erich in the funniest, beautiful ring jacket I've ever seen, which has the yellow rose and on the back says the memory of David Von Erich.
There were hundreds of people. I don't know if they fainted out of emotion or the heat in the arena itself, because there had to be 20,000 people on the floor of Texas Stadium. I mean, ringside went as far as the eye could see.
And I was up, everybody was up.
This is it, here we go.
That was out of respect for David. I mean, the people came. Yeah, they wanted to see if Kerry could beat Ricky, but just a tremendous outpouring of love and sympathy.
Feel the tension amongst this mob. They will reserve their enthusiasm. Spoken position is the Lord against the man, the champ. Goes very good.
But you add the fact that it was a world championship match, you add the fact that it was at Texas Stadium, you add the fact that there were 35 or 40,000 people there, you add the fact that there was world television, you add the fact that even an uninterested, skeptical world, when it came to professional wrestling, took an interest in this event. And then you add to it the emotion and the human side of it with David's death. It was just one of those once-in-a-lifetime experiences.
The toss, Kerry across. Kerry's got him. Here's the Nelson's head. Two. Hey! The green stuff through. Yes!
You know, it was just one of those great days. It was a great show. Everybody worked hard. Everybody talked about it. But the circumstances that surrounded it were tough. That was sort of mixed emotions because we always knew David would be world champion one day. You know, you know, it was a great thing that they did that, you know, and it meant a lot to everybody that happened.
The new world heavyweight champion, Kerry Von Erich. The
You asked earlier about the explosion from when it was this to when it went to this. If we'd gone ahead and done that Parade of Champions that day, and David hadn't passed away, and David would have won the title that day, it would have gone from here to here. Kerry didn't have the same persona and the same personality for it to go much bigger when he won the title.
And the stadium was just electrified, and so I was ready, and the people were behind me, and so in turn I won the world title.
Here, Kevin and Mike, any comments quickly, Kevin?
Just that he's the greatest wrestler in the world. Here's the belt to prove it. The greatest wrestler of all time, Kerry Von Erich.
The yellow rose in honor of Brother David, who I know has a smile on his face at this very moment.
I'll be back. I'll be back. They're going to be in trouble. I'll be back. You say your brothers. You say you're a man. I'll be back. You got it, baby.
3 weeks after the Parade of Champions, Ric Flair regained the World Championship from Kerry Von Erich. Still reeling from the loss of David, World Class began looking for new ways to keep attendance high and syndication deals in place.
While Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy were out honky-tonking, I was out making the biggest deal in professional wrestling history. Killer Khan.
And I'm amazed at the stupidity of the Freebirds. This big goof, Terry Gordy, this half-wit, he goes to the Orient, and he gets a diamond in the rough, like you Americans like to say.
I don't care nothing about what he does. What he does is his personal business. We've never claimed to own him. But you ain't going to come out here and run down my brother when he's not around.
I think you better look around the ring before you start shooting your big mouth off. No friend of mine is going to mess with my brother. Do you understand that?
That's right. Talk to him.
Hey, and let me tell you this, man, especially 301, three of them trying to jump on my brother. Hey, man, why don't they come here now?
He is certainly in.
Now, see, I told you not to.
What's the matter with them now? Where they at now?
I don't really know.
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. If they want to get it over the park tonight, we'll get it over.
He is upset. Coming through the crowd, here are the Freebirds again. Kerry thrown over the rope. Gordy and Hayes on Devastation Incorporated. Ring the bell. Kevin Von Erich maintaining the claw hold. Now, Tom is trying to pull the hair and pull Kevin off. And the crowd coming to the climax of this good event. Kevin holds it on. The straight drag comes loose. He'll try it again, and he does. Here's Michael Hayes coming in. Michael Hayes wants time. Michael Hayes. We just Mitchell was irritated with him. Hayes comes flying in. And Kevin Von Erich wants it. And the bell rings, and Michael Hayes interfering. Just wants his own piece of show time. He's doing just that. But Kevin doesn't want to be interfered with. He wants to have an artificial bout. But he can't have it because Michael Hayes has interfered.
Skandor Akbar, he had Devastation and some of the other teams in here. You had Kamala, you had different people. So the Birds actually were a lot of the main events against some of the other bad guys. And on those nights, when the Birds entered the ring, they were like the stars. And I would say they got, other than Chris Adams and possibly Iceman King Parsons, you take the Birds and they were the good guys when they came to the ring if they were against anyone except the Von Erichs.
We're going to have to halt this match right here. It will continue after the next match. Terry Gordy and Killer Khan have had a fight in the back. If we don't bring him to the ring right now, the match will not take place.
Terry Gordy awaiting now the arrival of Killer Khan, and here comes Khan. Now this is a most unusual, most unorthodox manner of handling this, but here they come, Khan and Gordy. And I think all you have to do is just stop and watch. This is just going to be absolutely a back alley brawl. You see, Gordy and Khan met each other in the Orient. It was Khan who caught
or helped Gordy learn the Oriental strike, looking to the man who knew it. They became great friends. They looked like they were going to become long-time wrestling friends. But then Skander Akbar, with a lot of the green stuff on the table, and here is what is the result.
In 11 minutes and 1 second, Kevin Von Erich wins the event. Kevin Von Erich, the winner. Chris Adams and Sunshine, the winners too. Winners of the hearts and minds of the crowd.
He was a fan favorite. I mean, he really, really was a fan favorite. I would say he was on the same level of the Von Erich boys. I made him up mind, Gary, if you don't do it, I'll go to somebody else. But I'm definitely going to change my image in Texas Championship Wrestling. So I said, well, if you're really interested, Chris, I would like to manage you.
With him, his advisor, Playboy manager Gary Hart.
I had the top angle back then against Kevin because I'd been friends so long, turned against Kevin. So, of course, you know, it was the big thing.
Gary Hart fires on Kevin, and what's happened here?
Yeah, I turned heel against Kevin. So, of course, that was an individual thing.
I'm going to make you a deal. But I can't believe myself right now I'm making it, but I'll tell you what. You fire Gary Hart. Get rid of him. And I'll try to bury the hatchet, forget it ever happened, and water under the bridge.
Well, that's an interesting challenge. And Kevin Von Erich hit from behind by Chris Adams.
I am fed up of living in the shadow of the Von Erichs, and the only thing to do is to beat them.
That one simple statement took him from one of the most loved wrestlers in world class to someone that could not stand.
Thin thread of hope that Chris Adams will fire his manager and maybe return to the Chris Adams of old. But Chris says he hasn't really changed a lot. There it's off and running. I'm not sure we'll even get this one officially started because the war is on. It'll ring the bell. Chris Adams in our lap here.
If the Von Erichs wants the world title, go right. If there's 50,000 of you here, no cards. It's the greatest wrestling card without Gino Hernandez, the handsome half-breed.
I remember Gino coming on the scene. He'd been down in Houston for years and really done good. I remember hearing he got a phenomenal amount of money back in them days just for 1 day a week, every Friday night.
From the moment he left the dressing room on the way to the ring, every guy in the audience thought they could kick Gino's ass. Oh, I could kick his ass. He don't look so tough. But they couldn't. And Gino wasn't a tough-looking guy. But he had big balls.
I don't care what the Von Erich family intends to do, and I don't care what they think, and I don't care that David Von Erich had the title. I say to each and every one of you, and to all you 9-to-5 lowlifers out there, and all you humanoids out there, I am the champion, and that's the way it's going to remain.
He was a pretty guy.
Gino was a trip. I mean, he liked to live the high life.
He was just the type of guy that you would want to be around. If you knew that Gino was going to be at the party, you would want to
Back in the
go.
saddle again, I said I'd get the American heavyweight title back.
I remember seeing him in his Brioni suit and, you know, his Italian shoes, and I mean, it was great.
He was the kind of guy that drove the best car, wore the best clothes, had the best watches, went with the best women.
I had the biggest crush on Gino Hernandez. It's one of the reasons why I kind of got started was because I had a thing for Gino. When I was in world class, I started on Labor Day just after Christmas. Gino brought me in to take care of a woman by the name of Stella Mae French. She was the aunt of Sunshine, and she was at the time causing him some havoc, so he needed a bodyguard, and I knew Gino at the time, and I thought, why not me? And he flew me in from Lubbock, and the rest was history.
And anybody else that wants to try to stick their nose where it doesn't belong will also be history, because right here is the biggest, the baddest, the most beautiful woman walking the face of the earth.
One day I saw him in the office and he was talking to Ken Mantell, the booker. I guess he saw that I had the top angle back then against Kevin. Gino initiated it. Ken Mantell liked it. I remember going out for a few meals with Gino. We talked about it and we both liked it. So then it became him and I. So we teamed up as the dynamic duo.
Wow, that was the perfect team, you know. Bad to the bone. When they came to the ring, that's what played. Chris Adams and Gino Hernandez.
You do admit that Gino and I are the best tag team in professional wrestling today, right?
Well, I'll admit you certainly are one of the top.
Okay.
The people loved the Von Erichs, and the people hated us.
1985 is going to be our year. Our year, the dynamic duo will take on any team, the greatest tag team of all time. A lot of people say with all the money and all the cars that we're bad. Yeah, well, we're real bad, right? We're bad to the bone.
And we'll be back with more on World Class Championship Wrestling in just a moment.
It was perfect.
Cornette come in later with the Midnight Express.
Are you about finished? I bet it takes you an hour and a half to watch 60 Minutes. Let me tell you something. First of all, Bill Mercer, what you're trying to beat around the bush and say is that we cheated, right?
I say you cheated.
Okay, well, let me tell you something. For one thing, your opinion doesn't count, but for another thing, first of all, I'm glad you showed that match again because my mother's so proud of us. I'm going to send a tape of it home so she can watch it over and over again and see how great her boy has done for his two men. And second of all, if you say we cheated, let me give you the straight story on what happened. That goof, Tommy Rogers, he's so clumsy, he was about to fall out of the ring. I was standing there. The only thing I could do was put my arms up over my head to try to keep him from crushing me, and he just run into me. That's all that happened. I was trying to help him, keep him from breaking his neck by coming out of the ring. That's all that happened. It was honest. It was moral. It was legal. We won fair and square, just like I told everybody we would. When a Cornette wants something, he gets it. When the Midnight Express go to do something, they do it. The prophecy came true. The American Tag Team Champions. I guess that means I know what I'm talking about. If I tell you that the sun's not going to come up tomorrow, you better go out and buy you a flashlight.
Fantastic. Bobby and Tommy, how are you?
You know, Mr. Mercer, it's good to be out here. We like
Call me Bill now. That Mr. Mercer makes me too old.
Okay, Bill, you know, you are a sharp-dressed man along with Martin Lynch, but I'd like to say this right now. We really appreciate the support that people have given the Fantastics since being here in the world-class area. We thank you very much, and we hope that you just keep supporting us and keep those cards and letters coming in. Now, the issue at hand, the Midnight Express and the Fantastics. Well, you know, the American Tag Team title belts are finally, they've been held up. Right. And there's finally got to be a winner. You know, there's a big Texas Stadium coming up. And we've got a rematch coming up soon, Mr. Mercer. And me and Tommy, we're planning on being there 220%. Nothing better in the world than to walk in Texas Stadium, the American Tag Team Champions. Now, I also like to say this, Jim Cornette, you wimp. You bring the Midnight Express down there, Bill Mercer. You've seen what they've done continually with the brackets. Well, fellas, don't be surprised. We just don't have a lot of surprises in store for you.
In the summer of '85, Mike Von Erich was suffering from a recurring shoulder injury. Unable to wrestle, the injury was written into a long-standing feud between Gary Hart and Fritz.
I tell you, world-class cameras are here, and they want to know from you personally about the incident that took place in the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit when you and the one-man game... breaking the kid's shoulder. Yeah, which kid now? Let's get the kids in the young one.
I want to also say, you know, to you people, you all know that my shoulder's been going out and been getting hurt a lot since whenever I first started wrestling, you know.
He got his shoulder jerked out of joint in Tel Aviv, so we sent him home to Texas to get surgery.
I sure thank all my fans for giving me such a great welcome back to Texas. It's great to be home.
There were complications from the surgery that caused him to get very sick.
In the incision, he got a type of staph. It's called toxic shock syndrome, and there were only 4 athletes have ever contracted that strong of a staph infection in an incision, and every one of them died within hours. Mike was the only one to live. His fever went to 106.5 degrees.
And so there was some question as to whether or not Mike was going to survive or not.
And the doctors told us, Mike's not coming back. You know, you go say goodbye now. And it was, instead of doing that, we prayed so hard.
We thought he was going to die.
They would do hourly reports on Mike, on how he was doing. The telephones at Baylor Hospital in Dallas were just ringing so much that Boone Powell, who runs the hospital, a great guy, was he asked us to go down and thank all the operators that they had to hire on extra operators, you know, to take the calls. And so just go down and cheer them up because they were like having us stay up, you know, and all. And
thanks for all of your prayers. Last night was really scary. I mean, scary to the point where it was almost hopeless. And we have some of the elders of the church, First Baptist in Dallas, and folks, let me tell you, a miracle took place last night. Just that we have Mike with us today, and we really feel fortunate. We feel like things are going to take a definite upward turn.
And I know our prayer was answered because Mike lived, but he wasn't the same.
Yeah, I think what's important is you asked the doctor a question about if you get 108 degrees of fever.
Yeah, it's going to burn some things out in your brain.
That's
short circuit. I got to know the doctor very well, and he was concerned about that fact that he was. And so when Mike came back, he was a totally different guy.
I know I'll be back. I can't wait till the comic book show. I'm going to be there.
You have a badge for your dad?
Yeah, I'll be at that comic book show if they want to see me like that.
He was just, the fever really did a lot to him.
Ladies and gentlemen, you, the wrestling public, once again, from Pro Wrestling Illustrated, have voted in several categories, and this year, because this man came back from the brink of death and inspired thousands upon thousands of fans, you fans have voted the Inspirational Wrestler of the Year award to the man standing right here to my left, Mike Von Erich.
And they brought him back too soon. Some of the things that Fritz did with his own kids was a little suspect even to us today.
We would like to welcome to the ring the nephew of Fritz Von Erich, Mr. Lance Von Erich.
Dad felt like we needed another Von Erich, so we just got a guy. The whole family was against it, but Dad said, majority rules, and Dad overruled all of us. And so we had Lance. I didn't like it, but we did it. We were trying to run 3 shows a day, and I'm having to wrestle at least twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. And it was really tough.
It's a hair match! Tag team Harry, tag team hair match. Tell me what it means,
Both men of one team, shave balls in the middle of the ring.
Gino and I made this thing that we wanted to go out and wrestle whoever. And then at the end, after we won, we would snip a piece of their hair and put it in a book and then talk about it on the interview. And in the end, we had a picture of everybody in the territory with a piece of their hair, you know, and that would build up. And we even did that to Kevin, and, you know, it was a lot of fun. We got a lot of heat.
Just a part of it, or there's going to be more? There is no time limit. Anything goes. There must be a winner. And the losing team, both members of the team, will have their heads shaved following them out. To ringside, please. Chris Von Erich tackling him. Leon Chris Von Erich tackling as he came across our table. They're going to give him a mohawk, it looks like. There's Lance Von Erich right there below Kevin. Oh, look at that.
Will be greatly mourned and missed by his millions of fans, and Channel 60 offers our condolences. We'll offer details of the tragedy on next week's show. Once again, Gino Hernandez has been found dead.
Oh, Gino Hernandez.
Nice kid. Fun to work with in the ring.
We had scheduled a bout with Gino Hernandez. However, we've reached a milestone, a sad moment in world-class championship wrestling. Gino Hernandez is dead. He was found this past week in his apartment. And so in his respect
We are substituting this program another bout for Gino Hernandez. Gino was 29 years old from Houston, Texas. For 10 years, he has given us this brash young man an excitement, a frustration at times, but a personality that beamed across the television sets and the arenas that we view and that we watch world-class championship wrestling. And so to Gino Hernandez, for his excitement and for his enthusiasm and his I did it my way sort of life, we salute him.
Some people said he might have been murdered.
I never believed Gino committed suicide.
I don't know anything else on what was printed about his death. You know, a lot of people always would come to me and say, like you're saying, you know, that there was something else going on there. You know, he'd bet on a football game or bet on a basketball, just like any of us would. But was any of that something that got him killed? I don't know.
It's hard to take young guys that if they go to a party, they're the guest of honor. Whatever they want, if it's brews, broads, drugs, or Eskimo pies, it's theirs for the asking. Gino got into some bad things. The limelight caught him. Gino loved the cocaine.
Gino came to the Sportatorium when I was booking. He came to the Sportatorium on a Friday night, and he was sweating so bad. And I remember he came into the office. And I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "Do you still have a gun, a 9mm?" And I said, "I've got a couple of guns." He said, "Man, I need a gun." He said, "I got some problems going on." And I was like, "Gino," and he said, "My car just broke down, and I thought I was being followed, you know," and I just blew it off.
Chris and I went over to Gino's place. Gino asked me, he said, "Would you come over? I'm thinking about maybe moving to South Texas. I want to know if I come down there, can you use me?" I said, "Of course, man." So I looked at him, and he had a sugar bowl on the coffee table and had like a little cover on it. And every once in a while, he would take the top off the bowl, and this went on for about a half hour. And then Gino, he laid out a long line, and snorted it.
It was no secret to any of us that Gino had a drug problem. You know, you talk about rehab and the different things, and anyone that has a drug problem always thinks they can take care of it, that there's not a problem. And, you know, Gino had a bowl right there in his apartment that had Coke in it.
And I said to him, "Gino, what are you doing to yourself, man? You got the greatest future in wrestling, handsome guy, Hispanic surname. Everybody loved him. Jim Barnett loved him. Vince Sr. loved him. Paul Bosch loved him. Gino was on his way to becoming whatever he wanted to become in wrestling." And I had said to him, I said, "Gino, why do you need this, man? You know, a couple drinks of wine, a little whiskey, a little pot, something, but not this. This is something that's going to harm you really, really bad, either now or later. Nobody wins doing cocaine. I don't care who you are. Thousands of people have proven that you can't beat it. It will beat you every time." And he said to me, he said, "Gary, you know I'm like that old dog. I've had all I can take, but not all I want." And a few moments later, I left, and I said, "Well, call me in a couple of days and give me the dates that you're available for the month that's coming up." So at the time, Tim Brooks was with me in South Texas. He was helping me take care of the TV. And once again, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call. And Brooks was crying. And Brooks is the type of guy that cries, you know what I mean? He's a hardcore, tough guy. And he said, Gary, we got bad news. And I said, Brooks, what is it, man? What is it? He said, they found Gino dead in his apartment from cocaine overdose. So here, me and Tim Brooks, right? Two guys hugging and crying.
Well, two things. Gino Hernandez was very, very organized. Believe it or not, very organized. His apartment was always just neat. His dress, you know, he was always dressed, top of the line suits and everything. And he had a routine. When he would walk into his apartment, it was always the same. Lock the door, lock the deadbolt. And when they found Gino, he was in his apartment, the deadbolt wasn't locked. That was the first sign. The second sign was he had been out to a club that night. People had seen Gino. Gino had a friend, you know, hopefully they're all dead and gone because some of the things I'm saying here, but he had some friends in Houston that dealt drugs and different things. One of them had gone to prison. And I think he had inherited some jobs to take care of that other people were kind of envious of. I know he was scared to death the last week of his life. So I try to put two and two together. If you're scared, people don't think you'll OD, and you end up dead, your deadbolt's not locked, which you lock every time you walk into the apartment. That's the first thing you do. You know, you put two and two together. Let me say this. Gino had enough drugs. He had 3 times the amount of coke it would take you to OD in his body. 3 times the amount. I think it was foul play.
We're very close, fans. I'm afraid to an awful lot. Now here comes Gino. Gino Hernandez with the chain now. Hold on. Gino is smashing the grand old 1985.
So now we're without one of our top villains, the heels.
I mean, Gino was excellent. Gino, if he had lived, he would have been somebody that Vince would have taken for the modern era of wrestling. He's one of those guys.
As many of you know, World Class Championship Wrestling, with its overseas viewers and promotions now, is the #1 wrestling organization in the world today.
I know what my brother wanted. My brother wanted us to be a worldwide territory, a worldwide company. And Kenny's goal was to do what ultimately Vince Jr. did. Kenny's goal was to go worldwide.
The World Class Wrestling Association is going to recognize the holder of the American belt, Rick Rude, as our world heavyweight champion.
Why the break from the NWA? I really think, again, it was just one of those things, what have you done for me lately?
All about sanctioned by the National Wrestling Alliance.
The NWA basically got scared of world-class wrestling.
Channel 39 had gotten so powerful. Channel 11 had, they had syndicated the 39 show, and it was all over the world.
Channel 11, the Superstation, with Channel 39, with the syndication we had, with the power the Von Erichs had created around the United States, that they were in demand everywhere. ESPN was picking up some of our tapes and showing them.
The signal wasn't good enough to get this TV transmitter was in southern Lebanon. They would drive out of the town with a battery-powered TV to a hilltop to get the wrestling show. I mean, that's how serious these people were.
We had been to Israel. In Israel, 40,000 people showed up at the airport just to see the wrestlers land and go to their rooms, and then they followed us all over the country. We had to have security.
Kevin Von Erich is on a tour of Japan, and he's defending his World Heavyweight Championship crown against some of the top contenders of the Far East and the rest of the world.
We were talk almost in every state out there, especially if our show was syndicated there.
A lot of things that we suggested later on about going to other places in the United States, like the Wheel of Fortune does, moving around the country, right?
We went to Boston, we went to Salt Lake City, we went to these places, sold out.
we felt as though here, after the passing of David, within 8 months, we were just blowing and going. Not that we didn't miss David and think about it, but we were traveling 6-7 nights a week. Not only had we gone from where you traveled in the car, we were on a plane. We were actually chartering planes. And we were in the Superdome in New Orleans. We were in the Kiel Auditorium. I mean, whatever the biggest event going on in the United States was, they needed a Von Erich there.
Packed the buildings. Wouldn't go back.
And then, when we're talking about provinciality, Fritz was worried about his promotions in San Antonio and Austin and all around, Lubbock and here and there. And we said, Fritz, look at this. We're the biggest. So he said, okay, we'll take the wrestlers, but we won't take the TV. And we said, take us. You know, I mean, you need to take the TV. We need to do shots over there. We could put 4 or 5 shows together.
Buggy's saying, Dad, it's time to move a tag. We need to move out and do it now.
Didn't want to do it.
The decision got to the point, the crossroads, where, okay, we either got to go full time, going out and about, we got to set up 2 or 3 crews and send this out all over, or we need to stop trying to syndicate it and pushing it out there and just stay here in Dallas. My understanding is Fritz's decision was Dallas is big enough for my boys, that's all they'll ever need.
He thought, let other people have their territories and this is ours.
Fritz said, look, we're not going to follow the TV. I don't care you're getting a rating of 12 or 13 in Salt Lake City. Our guys aren't coming there.
Fritz had chosen not to run against some of his people, which had had a very discouraging quality on some of the other key players within the organization at the time.
And that's essentially what happened. All these old hardline promoters were so set in their ways and so married to that old mentality. I don't want to have